What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and as Spurs set to be expected to be one of the busiest clubs still left in the transfer market, it's going to be a very busy month ahead. I expect a lot of outgoings, hopefully some incomings as well, and we're going to get into the Tottenham update, but hopefully an exciting month ahead of us now.
Big month, big month. We've already had an amazing transfer window. Everyone's delighted, but I'm starting to sense some itchy fingers from people. I'm starting to sense some nerves about what's happening. You know, everyone's
I told you of the nerves weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, we go a few weeks out without a signing coming through the door. So everyone's starting to lose their mind. Yeah, 1 month, a few weeks. What's the difference? But people are starting to get nervous. I can just sense it. It's bubbling under the surface. All of a sudden, every signing we're linked with isn't good enough. All of a sudden, negativity is starting to swirl again. We just need a bomber. We just need a bomber to settle everyone down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But before we get into the Tottenham update, do head over to okjersey.com. You can see what I've got on here. You can see what Sim's got on. OK Jersey specials. And they've just dropped the goalkeeping shirt as well. If you've seen that psychedelic Spurs shirt that Dubravka, Kinski and Brandon Austin has been wearing, the pink with the blue kind of patterns on it, you can get that from okjersey.com right here, right now. You get a further 10% off when you use our code SPURS, which is pinned to the live chat. Look at that.
Beautiful.
It's actually a really nice kit.
Yeah, it's very funky. If you're into goalkeeper kits, go over to OK Jersey.
Reminds me of the kits that Ian Walker used to wore in the late 90s. But yeah, you got all the retro gear, last season shirts, this season shirts. They've got you covered for anything that you may want regarding football shirts. So head over to OK Jersey today, get your shirt. Remember to order a size up as well. Top quality and a 5-10% off with our code SPURS.
Can't go wrong with those prices.
You cannot. You most definitely cannot go wrong. But let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. As I mentioned, Football London say that Tottenham are expected to remain one of the busiest clubs in the market this month, with further arrivals and departures both on the agenda. And Ali Gold did say that there is no sign of Spurs' window slowing down. I mean, I hope not, because it's pretty slow in the last month.
I'd say surely the signs are no signing for a month. That means, considering how busy we've been for the first 6 weeks of the window, I mean, we have quite literally slowed down. I mean, there's no debate about that, but whether things ramp up from now on remains to be seen. Obviously, I think De Zerbi has spoken about it. All the fans know exactly where the next targets are going to be, and that's going to be in the forward line. Everyone is desperate to get upgrades in that position, us included. It's obviously the most difficult position to get the quality that you want, because the prices are higher for those kind of positions, and the quality is, I feel like, more scarce. I feel like the top quality, a lot of it is already at top clubs, which is hard to get players out of. And then you're trying to kind of fight your way for the kind of little talent outside of those clubs, which the other big clubs are also looking at. So it is definitely the most difficult position to improve on and to get the quality that you want at. But Tottenham are clearly all over it. We're going for, I like the targets that we're linked with, but we just got to get these deals done. I mean, the deals that we're talking about have either been going on for a while, like Savinho, or there's GAKPO, which seems as though we'll get into, but there's a few stumbling blocks in that one. Or there's some like Osimhen, who just seems like a long shot. So let's just hope there are some bombers on the way, which everyone's going to be delighted with.
Yeah. So let's get into it. We're going to start off talking on Manor Solomon, a bit of information on him. Luca Bendoni from Damasio says that West Ham are exploring a potential permanent deal for Manor Solomon from Tottenham. Parties expect to know if the deal can progress within the next 48 to 72 hours. An ex-West Ham employee, obviously very reliable West Ham source, says that Manor Solomon is West Ham's top left winger target, with talks with Tottenham set to continue this week. Yeah, look, it's obvious that Manor Solomon's days have been numbered at Spurs for quite some time. We're always looking to push him out the club, but I'm looking at the situation at Spurs now, with injured players, with targets that we're supposedly bringing in and everything like that. I think we should keep him till at least January. I really do. Like, he's performed at pre-season, one of our best players at pre-season, and it's a position where we're really light on numbers. So unless we bring someone in, then I think we should keep him.
I'm open to keeping him in the short term as we assess the likes of Decky, his injury, where he's out. Obviously, Odebear's waiting for him to come back from an ACL. So hopefully he'll be an option come the second half of the season. So until that point, it might be worth keeping him around. However, it depends what our plans are. For me, in my mind, if we sign GAKPO and Savinho, I would want Savinho, Tell and GAKPO to be our left winger options, Kudus, Savinho to be our right winger options. Obviously, you've got Savinho who can play both wings as well. And then there's not really any room for Manor Solomon. But if the plan, for me, if the plan is to play GAKPO as a 9, which has been suggested, then all of a sudden I do think there's a hole there at right wing, because apparently we want to play Decky as a backup right winger, and I'm just not sure about that at this point right now because of his very serious knee injury. There are rumours that his pace has been affected by this long-term injury. Would that mean he's going to be much more suited, even more so than before, to a central role, which already seemed to be his best position? Yeah, I don't know if we should be trusting Decky right now as a right winger. Obviously, we don't know for sure. I'm just not sure about it.
Decky at all in the 10 or right wing.
Yeah, but whatever, in the 10 we have other options. If he can just provide some sort of option there, when we already have Maddison, we already have Gallagher. So
it's not going to be for a while anyway. Regardless.
We'll see. But I'm just saying I wouldn't want to rely on him being our backup right winger to Kudus, who already himself has injury problems. So if that's the plan, I would keep Manor, because I think we need another option at right wing as to give Kudus some help. But if the plan is to play GAKPO on the wing, and you bring in Savinho, then I'm not sure there is a space for him.
The thing is, right, even if what you're saying is true, and that is the plan, Savinho and Kudus off the right, and Tell and GAKPO off the left. That's all well and good, but then one injury and we're starting to look light in those positions. So even in that case, I would still keep Manor around, just so we can have cover on both sides, on the right wing and the left.
So he's
wing.
third choice for both sides?
Yeah, but I still think he'll still see minutes.
I don't know if he would.
Look, with what we've been through over the past couple of years, we can't take anything to chance, and we got to keep equipped for the worst situations.
I don't know if having two players in each position is leaving anything to chance.
Well, we've had two players in each position before, and we've still got mad injuries and not been able to fill those positions at certain times. So 5 wingers for 2 positions isn't exactly like madly overstocked. It's just nicely overstocked.
But if we get him money in for Manor, and he's going to want to go, I'm not going to force him to stay around to be our third choice in each position.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not going to force him to stay around, and if he's desperate to go, let him go. But if he's open to staying under those circumstances, I would happily keep him, and I think he'll see minutes as well.
I don't think he would. Depends. Maybe he would if the plan is for GAKPO to play at the 9, then maybe he would see some minutes. So and that seems to be the suggestion. So if we want to keep him around and he's happy to stay, then fine.
The reality is it's highly unlikely that we keep all 4 wingers fit all season. So if one of those wingers...
it's highly unlikely we keep Manor fit.
Yeah, that's another point. But I'm talking about these 4 wingers, once one gets injured, then Manor takes a step up to the backup option where he sees minutes off the bench.
Mm-hmm. I understand that, but I just don't think he's going to stay anyway. I think he's off. We'll get a bit of money for him, and that'll be that. I don't really mind it. I don't think it's a big deal. It is what it is. Like, if we have 4 good wingers, I think that's fine. Going into a season with no Europe, I think that should be manageable. And Odebear potentially coming back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Keep him till January, until Odebear's back. Just as, backup cover that we're going to need. So, look, we'll see what happens. I'd like him to stay. If he's desperate to go, then let him go. It's not an issue. Next up, let's talk about Cuti Romero, as there's been one update in terms of Fabrizio Romano saying Inter are expected to make the final decision soon on Cuti Romero. No issues on agreement with Spurs on fee. Romero asks for the same salary he has at Tottenham. Inter to decide soon, as clubs are keen on the Argentinian. Exits could be the key. So I believe they're looking to sell Pavard, maybe it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
one of
Pavard.
their centre-backs. So
wrong one.
So maybe that could open the door for Romero, but we can't wait around for forever, or they can't wait around forever if other clubs come in.
Sky Sports News are reporting that Atletico and Inter remain interested in Romero. There is an expectation he'll depart, blah, 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 as he's obviously he wants to leave. I think we all know he's off. It's just about where it is. Obviously, Inter Milan seem to be the ones that are really close to getting him over the line. It seems as though we're willing to do a deal at a very discounted rate due to the fact that we're just desperate to leave, get rid. He's desperate to go, and also there seems to be a lack of options of where he's going. But if Atletico Madrid do enter the deal late in the day, maybe we can get a bit more money from them. But obviously, Atletico are probably looking at the fee that Inter Milan have allegedly agreed, and they're probably going to want something similar. So I don't know how much more money we can get out of them. Maybe bump it up to like 45 or something. But I think they're going to want a similar fee to what Inter paid. So I don't think it's even about getting a much bigger fee anymore. It's just about maybe Atletico are going to be more willing to match Romero's wages than Inter Milan. Maybe they're more ready to go with Inter Milan looking to sell. So regardless, I hope Atletico enter the fray. But if he goes to Inter and it is 35 million, I'm just sick of talking about it at this point. So it is what it is. I've accepted the fact for a while that he's going to go for a fee that we or I think the club aren't really going to be delighted about. But it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully a deal. I think something will be agreed this week. I really believe that, and I think that will happen. I think a lot of players are gonna be exiting this week, but that's the Romero situation, because I think he's due to come back in a week's time or at the end of this week. So I don't know if he comes back into training. I think a deal will get done before he's due back. So we'll see what happens. Next up, let's talk about Mikey Moore, because there's been some major developments on Mikey Moore. And Fabrizio Romano says FC Cologne have sent an official bid to sign Mikey Moore on loan. Negotiations at an advanced stage with Tottenham, as the deal could be completed next week, with Moore open to the move. So he said that yesterday. So next week is obviously this week. Several clubs keen, but Cologne are clear favourites. Ali Gold said that plenty of clubs are interested in Moore, from home and abroad, including newly promoted Premier League sides and Championship clubs. Rangers were interested again, but Spurs are understood to be leaning towards a new experience for him out on loan. Bundesliga outfit FC Cologne are understood to be the young Spurs attacker's preferred club if he goes abroad, and they've had a long-standing interest in him. Nothing agreed yet, but they want the 18-year-old. Advanced talks with Cologne and awaiting both the 18-year-old and Tottenham to give the green light. Will be interesting to see if any of the English clubs make a late push. It'd be interesting. Yeah, I mean, would you prefer him to go to Cologne, or would you prefer him to stay in the Premier League and go to one of like the kind of promoted sides?
Definitely Premier League, because I think that's where you're going to get the best experience if he's playing week in, week out, getting up to speed in the league, where hopefully that's where his future lies. But if he goes to Cologne and gets to platform his attacking ability, gets to gain that confidence of being at home at a top 5 league and being able to show the fact that he's ready for that kind of level, then I'm all for that as well. In terms of Cologne, though, I'm mixed on that one specifically. I think apparently they do play like attacking football. I've read they play like a bit of a 4-4-2 kind of formation, but the one thing I'm worried about is they do have Elmala. Obviously, he might leave, but right now he's still there, and he kind of plays in Mikey Moore's position. So I'm worried he might keep him out of the team. Either he'll keep him out of the team, or he'll force Mikey Moore into a position that he's not so comfortable in.
Do they play a 4-4-2?
That's what I've read.
I thought they played with a 10. Did they not play with a 10?
I think they used to, I read, and then a new manager came in and apparently they play 4. That's what I read. They play 4-4-2.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the expectation is Elmala's going to leave this summer, and I think Mikey Moore's probably coming in to be his replacement.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then fine. I'm just worried that doesn't happen, and then he's competing for his best position with a player who right now might be ahead of him. So slightly worried about that. But if it turns out he's going to be playing week out in a top 5 league like Cologne, I think that'll be a really good move for him, and I think he'll be able to just show off his talents. And yeah, I think he'll be able to kind of hopefully grow on what was a really good season last season and make that step up.
Yeah, and there are so many examples, aren't there, of young English talent going over to the Bundesliga as a boy, coming back a man, and really getting consistent football. And their technical ability just goes up leaps and bounds. Such a technical league, open league, where I think Mikey can really flourish. I really do. In terms of some potential incomings, let's talk about Cody GAKPO, as there's been a couple of updates on him, some good, some bad. Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham had contacts with GAKPO's agency and believe he could be the right addition for Roberto De Zerbi. It depends on the price. Liverpool are not pushing GAKPO out. The only way to open the door is a good proposal. Tottenham plan to step up their efforts to try sign GAKPO, as talks will enter the key stages soon. GAKPO option in addition to Savinho, who remains another top target. Deal depends on Liverpool's intentions and price, as GAKPO is not on the exit list. Sky Sports' Lyle Thomas says that Liverpool would not be willing to let Tottenham target GAKPO leave without having a replacement signed. In any case, with 4 years left in this deal, the forward would not come cheaply. Alex Crook says it's his understanding that Liverpool do not plan to sell Cody GAKPO, even if they do recruit Bradley Barcola. And Simon Jones says that Liverpool have made it abundantly clear that they have no plans to sell Cody GAKPO this summer. I've read suggestions of crazy fees being put about for Cody GAKPO. Like the lowest one I've seen is like 70 million, even going up to like 80, 90 million, which is nuts. For Cody GAKPO, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think we would sign him if he's going up to 90 million. But in terms of Liverpool's stance, this has kind of been what I think has always been the case for them, and that's that they aren't going to sell him until they get one or two, or two probably, through the door. One of them being Bradley Barcola, which is not going to be an easy deal to do. So they're so thin on the ground in the forward line. I just would be very surprised if they're willing to let go someone like Cody GAKPO, who's quite a reliable member of their attack, while their attack is so thin. So as much as he's one of our targets and we think he would be interested in coming if we can agree a deal, I can't see Liverpool sanctioning it just yet. And I don't think I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if he's that unhappy that he's going to force through a move to a club like Tottenham when maybe he'd back himself to, be part of Iraola's attack next season. So that's obviously a massive issue for me when it comes to this deal. I really like GAKPO. There's been a lot of discourse about GAKPO for the last 48 hours. A lot of people saying he's average. Why are we going for him? Or, he's a really underwhelming signing. Some others, a bit more positive. Looking at his numbers, looking at when he plays, he does score goals. He's big, he's strong, he's quick, he has qualities. As much as he's flawed, he does have, pretty consistently good kind of goal output or goal contribution output in the Premier League, and that's not easy to come by. So I think I understand both sides of the argument. I think if we can agree a deal for if Liverpool are willing to let him go, I think he'd definitely improve our attack, and I think he'll definitely add that little bit more quality, and I think and someone who's could be a source of goals from the wing, which we are struggling with at the moment. But it might be one that has to rumble on. I can't see this being an imminent one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their options, Liverpool. It's not as frail as that's assuming they do bring in Barcola, if they do, because then on the left wing they've got Barcola. They've got Munoz, who they've just signed. They've got Rio, who's obviously up and coming there. So that's three options on the left-hand side. The right-hand side is where they're really weak.
I think Munoz plays on the right, doesn't he?
Is he not a left winger? Even if he's a right, it's still another option up top. I think he can maybe play both. But where does he play? I thought he was a left winger. Is he a right winger?
I think he's a right winger. I'm not 100% sure. I think I was looking at a Liverpool fan who put his squad
it says
together.
On Transfermarkt he's a left winger.
Okay.
So they've signed a left winger. They're looking to sign another left winger. Surely that brings to light GAKPO leaving. Like, would they not let him go if they bring in two left wingers?
I don't know, because Munoz is young, Rio's a teenager. So I don't know if unless they're
he's
signing.
23 years of age. It's not like he's a kid.
I know, but where was he last season?
Somewhere in the Spanish league.
Yeah, I don't know if
Osasuna.
are they going to rely on him over GAKPO? Who knows? Maybe they will, but I think they are still pretty thin, and still. But my point being, I don't think it's imminent. Like Barcola might take a while to get that deal over the line, so I don't think they let Gakpo go before they get that one in, and that could take a while. So we'll see.
In my opinion, I think they will let him go. I just think this is a negotiation tactic from Liverpool, saying, you know, I think they want top dollar for him. I really do, and I don't think we should play top dollar for him. I like Gakpo. I want to bring him in. But to pay like 80 million for him, or north of 80 million for him, I think is crazy talk. You know, we paid that money for Fernandes, we paid that money for Tonali, and I always said on those deals, it shouldn't matter about the money because we're bringing in, you know, top talent that we can have for years. I mean, if we bring in Cody Gakpo for 80 million, there's a very high chance in 2 years' time we could be looking to upgrade on him or move on to him if other big attackers come on the market. So I don't think it's the same as Mateus Fernandes and Sandro Tonali, where we should just throw the book at it and bring him in at all costs. I think he can have a major impact for us next season and potentially the season after, but he's a player that's firmly upgradable when you look at him. So I don't think that Spurs should probably going more than like 65 million for him. I think that's where he's at.
I think 70 for me would be kind of what I'd be pretty comfortable with that one. Anything above that, I think it's pretty wild. We're looking at the figures, but then again, as I've been saying about Gakpo, if you're looking for a 9, then I think it's a bit different. I think there are definitely maybe options out there which, you know, you could pay top dollar, and maybe, like for example, like an Osimhen, and maybe you can convince him to come. But when you're talking about a left winger who gets goal contributions, I don't know how many in the Premier League that are gettable for Tottenham would you say we could bring in who gets more goal contributions than Gakpo? Like, I can't think of too many.
There aren't any more, I don't think. I think Gakpo, in terms of Premier League proven, is probably top of the list in that sense. But maybe it's time to maybe look outside the Premier League as well. Like, we don't have to do all our shopping in the Premier League.
I understand that, but that's the remit. Clearly, at the moment, we see. I for one would like us to look outside the Premier League, but it seems as though right now, where we're at, because of what happened the last 2 seasons, we just want to make sure we've got players coming in who we know can play in this division and minimise as much risk as possible. And so Gakpo might represent that. And then so if he's the best option of your kind of strategy, then you got to get him in. I think you got to pay what needs to be paid to get him in.
Well, they could be charging 80 million, 85 million for him. So
But it depends. If you're looking for a 9, then I'm happy to move on. I don't know. I wouldn't sign him to play the 9. That has been suggested. Paul O'Keefe said we're signing him because he can play 9. It was a bit ambiguous. He says it because he can play 9, not because he will play 9. But I assume it's, you know, that's part of the reason.
has said that we don't rate him in the 9.
We don't rate him in the 9 now. Well, no, Paul O'Keefe says we want him because he can play 9, but
I think because he can play 9.
So it's a bit. So if he's coming in to play left wing, then and the idea is to also sign a number 9 on top of that, then I'm happy to go quite big on him because I think.
Big?
Yeah, I'm happy. Whatever they want, whatever. If Spurs want to get him in, just pay whatever Spurs are comfortable with. I don't know. I would say for me, I wouldn't pay more than 70. But you know, if they're saying you won't let him go for any less than 80, whatever, pay the money is what it is. Like if we're talking about left winger, who are people talking about when they're saying Gakpo's not good enough? So who is good enough? Who are we talking about?
I don't think people are saying. Well, I'm not saying that Gakpo's not good enough. What I'm saying is that if you pay really big money for Gakpo, in a year's time, another winger could come along that is, you know, a lot better than Gakpo and much more suited to us.
Okay, you've got 80 million, right? Who are you signing for the left winger?
I've got 80 million. Who am I signing for the left winger? I really don't know. I don't think that we should. It's a hard one. It's a really hard one because the market is dry. The market is really dry. I think in terms of Premier League proven, Gakpo is the best option available. He is. We've got to look at other options outside the Premier League that we could potentially get. But in terms of Premier League proven talent, Gakpo is the best one.
If I'm looking at transfer Like if I go to transfer market and just look at left wingers. One sec.
Maybe Rashford.
Yeah, Rashford, but obviously you can get him for cheaper. Is he guaranteed to get more goal contributions than GAKPO? Maybe. I mean, I think you can definitely make a case. But let's see, position, left winger. Who are like the top left wingers in the world at the moment? Obviously, oh, this is stupid. I've gone to the wrong one. I need market values. That's what I need. Most valuable. One sec. Okay. So you're going on left wingers on transfer marks, most valuable. Not going to get Vinny, not going to get Kafisha, not going to get Barcola, Gordon, Doku. Yildiz maybe. You could say go big for Yildiz. Maybe you can convince him to leave Juve. That's one option. Rafinha, Diaz, and then GAKPO's the 9th most expensive in the whole of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're saying I don't want to spend big on him, then who are we going to spend big on?
We should have
Nico Williams,
Lookman.
Lookman.
When we had the chance.
You think Lookman's better than GAKPO?
I think it's hard because Lookman obviously hasn't proven himself in the Premier League, but he's proven to himself to get consistent goal contributions.
But is he better than GAKPO? When you watch him play, do you think he's better than GAKPO?
I think they offer different things. I mean, Lookman's obviously a bit more direct. Maybe GAKPO is a bit better, but Lookman you wouldn't have to have spent like crazy money on, and if you upgrade him and look to sell him, it would be a much easier thing to do.
I think I would much rather rely on GAKPO than Lookman. I think GAKPO's much more reliable for me and much lesser risk, and I think it has played on the big stage, World Cups and stuff. He's been starting for a team that's won the league. You know, he was playing very regularly for Liverpool when they won the league.
I like GAKPO. I mean,
but I know, but my point is that all these people, I'm not saying you necessarily, I'm just saying people complaining about spending a big chunk of money on him. And I'm looking at these options here. Like, who are we comfortable spending a big amount of money on? Okay, Yildiz. Fair enough. I'll go big for Yildiz if we can get him. But I'm saying if that's not possible, then who are we saying?
I don't know who we're saying. I really don't know because I think the market is very dry. But someone could easily come to light in the next year or so. So I'm not saying I don't want to bring in GAKPO. I actually do want to bring in GAKPO. I think he's a really good player. But I think going over the top for him for a player that we could potentially looking to move on in 2 years' time, I think is a bit crazy talk.
Or maybe De Zerbi can get even more out of him than
I hope
what
so,
we've seen.
yeah. You'd probably hope that, obviously. I don't know.
In 2 years' time, you cross that bridge when he comes. We're talking about just right now. You can only deal with the market we have. And I understand. I think your point's valid. Like in a couple of years, when we look at that front line, and let's say we're in Champions League football and we want to really go for it, like the league, there might be the case where we're like, okay, where can we improve? What players can we upgrade on? GAKPO might be that one, and he might just be demoted to a squad player.
I think we're going to get him. So once we do, this whole conversation will be, a moot point. But if I told you at the beginning of the summer we're going to be spending 90 million or 85 million on GAKPO, you would have called me crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I would have said the same for Fernandes. I would have said the same for Tonali. But here we are.
I know, but at the beginning of the window as well, I remember speaking about GAKPO, and I don't think you were that interested in GAKPO.
I think that obviously that he has his issues. I'm not saying he doesn't. He can be a frustrating player. He can be a predictable player, but he also provides in the final third. He just does consistently.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. So I've always liked him as a player. I think he needs, obviously at 27, it's unlikely he's going to improve a massive lot. But then again, De Zerbi's a very, very good manager. And if he really wants him, I think he's got, he probably has a plan for him and how he can use him. And if he can just up his efficiency by 10 to 15%, you've got a very, very good player on your hand. So, I've always thought Gakpo would be a good signing for us.
All right, well, let's see how it progresses. I do think this will happen at some point, and I believe that all of this is just a negotiating tactic from Liverpool. I don't believe that they won't sanction Rue for him, or with that he's not for sale. He's most definitely for sale, particularly if they bring in Bradley Barcola, 100%, because they've got more than enough players for the left wing. Maybe they need to bring in another one in the 9, fine, because Ekatike's injury. They got Isaac there. So if they bring in Bradley Barcola, there's, all he is a backup option there. And I think he'll get very frustrated.
Yeah, we'll see. I think right now, I'm just looking at Liverpool's options. I'm like, I don't think they should be losing Gakpo right now, but let's see.
And also, he's just not an Iraola player as well. So I think Iraola will be happy to move him on, because I just don't think he's the style that Iraola's going for on the wings.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Look, it makes sense. They're saying they need to find a replacement, so something just tells me it's not imminent. But let's hope this is one we can get over the line.
And also Liverpool fans, they want rid of him. A lot of them. A lot of them don't want him at the club anymore.
I know, but recency bias can easily skew that. Like, how many you have one bad season or one season where he's frustrating, which he was last season. He was frustrating, but then you also look at Liverpool; they had their own problems. It wasn't just him, and like a lot of players were underperforming last season. And obviously, he bears the brunt. Maybe he was a bit of a scapegoat. But we've seen it with our fans. Like, for example, Trippier. Everyone was desperate to get rid of Trippier because he was had a bad season. It was like, get rid, he's rubbish, blah blah blah. He leaves. All of a sudden it comes out he had an injury or whatever, and all of a sudden he's winning leagues at Atletico, and then he's starting for England at the World Cup and all this kind of stuff, and he becomes a top right back. So you can't always trust fans, but I get it. It's true. Liverpool fans really aren't a fan of him right now.
Yeah. And last but not least, there's been a report from French media for Andreas Schelderup. I don't think it's a great source, to be honest. They are claiming that Tottenham have offered 45 million plus 10 million in bonuses for him, and Benfica want 50 million plus 5 million in bonuses. I liked him at the World Cup. I thought he looked really good against Brazil, who was fantastic when he came off the bench. I think he did, and then he obviously got the start against England and scored that goal, which he obviously meant 100%. But I mean, yeah, when you compare him to like a Gakpo, obviously it's a no-brainer in favour of Gakpo.
I think he would probably be an alternative to Savinho, I would assume, because I think he's that kind of winger, isn't he? So that's what I'd assume if we're actually interested in him. The Savinho stuff is starting to worry me. He played a significant part of their friendly against Inter Milan, played really well. These individual highlights have been doing the rounds, and I was just watching it thinking like, are they actually just going to let him come to us? Like, this guy is a serious talent. Like, I think
this is no different to Bergvall playing significant minutes for us.
I know. But that's also gone quiet. But obviously he could still leave. But this one's been in the pipeline for such a long time. And what is the hold-up exactly? It's quite peculiar, the whole situation. I'm starting to get a bit worried about it. I'm starting to think that maybe it's not going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. But there's just something in the air at the moment that seems to be holding it back. And if it's not resolved by this point, when it is going to be resolved, that's what I'm worrying about. But I think this kid, Schelderup, I think he would probably be an alternative to Savinho, I'd assume. He
does have immense talent, but I think in the path that we're going for, I just don't think he fits it 100%. I think he still needs a couple of years or a year at least of development before we start to look at him. So I don't really think Spurs are going to go in for him, albeit I do rate him as a big talent. And I do think Savinho will get done eventually. God knows what the hold-up is, but I think it will get done at some point. Here we go today, hopefully.
I've been saying here we go today for the last 3 months.
But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories that we have brought you today. I wanted to... Actually, let's just talk about this super chat first. As Powery says, This should be a 1-hour brainstorm session about how we collectively how everybody can convince Osimhen we are the place for him. Who's got his number?
Come on, anyone?
And Ardy the Quirky Puffin says, very frustrating that if we pay 70 million plus for GAKPO, we're basically funding Barcola to Liverpool. We're not closing the gap on top teams. I'd rather El Mala.
Yeah, I mean...
Would you take El Mala over GAKPO?
He seems talented. Got quite a good goal return in the Bundesliga last season. He is 19. Obviously only played in the Bundesliga, so you have to worry about that. He's probably going to be half the price or whatever. Maybe not quite half, but it'll be a lot cheaper than GAKPO. But no, I'd rather GAKPO than El Mala personally. I like the thought of El Mala. Again, he would probably be an alternative to Savinho more than GAKPO for me.
And he sent in another super chat saying, bottom line is by the classical top 6 standards, Savinho, GAKPO, Kudus front line is shocking. At least El Mala is more of a goal-scoring profile with potential. Yeah, look, that does bring me onto the next kind of topic. We're going to look at this transfer window. Obviously, we've had a very good transfer window so far. Spent a lot of money. We've spent the most money in the Premier League as of yet. And what do we need as players? What do we need to bring in to make it that 10 out of 10 window we're all kind of envisaging when we brought in Tonali and Mateus Fernandes? Because you're looking at the makeup of the squad now. Goalkeeper sorted, defence sorted, 2 right backs, 2 left backs, good enough centre backs, midfield looking tasty. Obviously, it's the front line, right? So what do we need to bring in? How many do we need to bring in from now to the end of the transfer window to make it that kind of 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 transfer window?
I think to make it that high, you would want a minimum 3. That's for me. You want a left winger, you want a right winger, and you want a striker. That probably brings it to 9. If you make it a 10, you probably sell Sarr, sell Bentancur, get Alex Scott on top of that, and then all of a sudden, or a Gibbs White, and all of a sudden that's a 10 out of 10 window. And all of a sudden the squad is looking stacked, it's looking strong, and that looks like a competitive team. But for me, when you're looking at the front line, obviously that's the main interest at the moment. I think you need a 9. I think you need someone on top of Tel, a first choice on top of Tel, and I think you need support for Kudus. And I think the links at the moment with GAKPO and Savinho, I like them. I think it upgrades our attack. Does it bring us to a stage where those attackers are much better than the other teams in the top 6? No, but it definitely closes the gap than where we were. And then we need a really top number 9. Obviously, the number 9 market is very, very weak at the moment. And so if we're not talking about Osimhen and we're not talking about Krupi, then it's going to be very difficult to get a striker in who everyone's going to be convinced is going to get us the goals that we want for next season. So that's going to be
Watkins.
Watkins you can go for. So like there are strikers, but there's not loads. There's not like tons and tons of options. But I think that would be the hardest probably position to get. But I think if you're looking at the attack, I think we need all 3. I think we need, and maybe even if you'll make it a 10 out of 10, maybe even another number 10 as well.
I actually think the winger market is looking more scarce than the number 9 market these days. I mean, you're looking at we just thought about wingers who we can bring in like that are going to be guaranteed for us, and GAKPO's pretty much the only one we can land on, with maybe a Rashford, maybe a Iliman Ndiaye, these kind of players. With the number 9, I feel like there is a couple more. There's Watkins, like we said. There's Osimhen on. I don't even know if he's on the market, but there is Osimhen. Dusan Vlahovic is on a free transfer right now. I'm sure there's other names that I'm just completely forgetting. Your favoured Chris Wood is there on the market. So maybe there's more players in the number 9 that's more realistic than on the wing. And I've been thinking about Osimhen all night. All night I was thinking about Osimhen, about how we can get this guy to the club. And I was looking at his wages. His wages aren't even that astronomical. Obviously, he would come in as the top wage earner at the club, which would probably be rightly so, he would. But the guy's earning just over 300 grand a week. Is that not something that Spurs could go to? I think it is, with what we've paid for Tonali, and you're looking at the talent that he does have. If we brought in Osimhen, along with the wingers that we're talking about, that puts us into title challenger credentials, in my opinion. Spurs should be doing everything they can to bring Osimhen to the club. Go put down 90 million plus Solanke or something. You know what I mean? Like, why should it be unrealistic that we can't to bring Osimhen?
Well, for some reason, you know, there's something preventing all the top clubs going for him. I don't know what the answer is, you know, but financially he put off PSG and Chelsea financially.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we're poor, but if they're being put off financially, then is the money we're talking about a lot higher than what we think? Obviously, you've done your research and you've seen that figure, but maybe that's not the total thing. Who knows exactly what there's some I've read some other reports suggesting he's on 500 grand a week. So I don't know what exactly to believe.
On the books, he's on over 300, unless they're giving him backhand, which I wouldn't, you know, completely rule out in Turkey. They could be giving him some backhanders and stuff like that.
And also, there's, you know, the tax issue. So,
but I was reading about tax issues in Turkey as well. I mean, high earners in Turkey are supposed to pay 40% tax.
Don't you have like a thing where for foreign people?
Yeah,
no, I read that. I looked into that as well. Apparently not.
Are you sure?
That's what I read. It's not Saudi. It's still a European country in Turkey.
No, I understand that. But is he earning 300 grand a week before or after tax?
It was supposed to be 300 a week, then they take tax off. That's what the books say. But the books could be wrong. The books could be giving him some other sort of payments in other places.
Yeah, it's hard to know, but I think there's clearly some reason why none of the top clubs are touching him, and he's at Galatasaray at the moment. I would love to believe that it's a deal that we can do, and you know, transfer fee wise, we can afford it, and we can just make him our highest paid player, and we could bring him one of the best strikers in Europe. I'd love that, 100%. He would be my number one target. But I you know, there must be a reason. Otherwise, if it's so realistic, someone would have picked him up. Well, by now he wouldn't be a Galatasaray.
Some people are suggesting here saying the Turkish government are paying the tax. So I mean, that I wouldn't put it past.
If that's the case,
I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't. But like, surely, come on, man. He wants to play in a big league. He wants to compete for the big trophies. At Tottenham, he could do that. I really believe if we were to get Victor Osimhen, it would take us up so many levels. You know, he would come in as one of the best, not in the top three, top two, probably strikers in the Premier League. You know, he would be a god here, like he's a god in Turkey. But it will mean so much more, surely, because it's in the Premier League. Look,
I would love to will it into existence. Go get him. I think he'd be my dream signing, 100%. I love Osimhen. I thought at Napoli, he was an absolute killer. He was phenomenal. He's strong. He's a handful. He's fast. He's an incredible finisher. We even saw it when we played Galatasaray. He ripped us to shreds in the Europa League.
To be honest, everyone was ripping us to shreds.
Yeah, no, true. But someone in the comments says, it's 40%, that's subsidised by the club, 20%.
Okay.
So
he's paying 20% tax.
20% tax, which is, you know, not a lot. So anyway, I would love it to happen. I just don't know. I don't know if it is realistic. Is it only realistic for us and not for anyone else? I don't know. I would love to think that we can get him, but for me, logic states that it's probably not realistic and it's probably not an option.
I am slightly worried, though, that, you know, we're only going to bring in Gakpo and Savinho. Do you think that represents a good enough forward line? I do think we could probably challenge still for the top six with that forward line. But I guess the expectations going into this window, or the expectations once we were, you know, got going in this window, that the forward line would be replenished with a lot more than that.
Yeah, and considering the amount of money we spent in midfield and the upgrades you've made in defence as well, obviously it creates that expectation that we're willing to go big this window. And if you're willing to go big in those positions, you know, you should be willing to go big in the forward line as well. And I think we are willing to go big. I just think it's a lot harder to get players of the required quality that we want, who are gettable. Also, you have to add in the fact we finished 17 twice. You have to add in the fact that most of the talent already at top 6 clubs. You're looking at, you have to shop in the pool. Obviously, Gakpo might be available. Maybe you get a Marmoush who's available as well. And if you can get those in, that would be amazing. But most of the talent you're looking at is outside of those main clubs. And I'm not saying there's no talent there at all. I'm just saying it's harder to come by. It's harder to, and also, the other top 6 clubs are also looking at that talent because they're not going to sign from fellow top 6 clubs. So it just becomes a lot harder to get the talent that you want compared to other positions. So would it be underwhelming? Like, maybe. Probably. Gakpo and Savinho in terms of, does it represent an upgrade in our attack? 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. Would our attack, for me, would we have enough talent in our attack to make a challenge for that top 6, maybe even outside chance of a top 5? I think so, only because of the manager that we have rather than maybe the talent. But I think he would have enough there to play with to put us in a position where we could, especially one game a week, where we could challenge. Definitely, if we got into the Champions League, you would say we would need to focus massive on that forward line going into next season. But you got to remember, if we were to jump from 7 teams twice to top 6, you can't be too unhappy about that. As much as we all know, after these major signings, everyone's like, okay, I think the plan is probably to challenge for the Champions League. That's where the club want to be at. I think we're trying to accelerate that as quickly as possible. But if we have to take Europa League, I'm not saying I'll be delighted with it, but I think if we finish 6th, I wouldn't sit here and say it's a disaster.
We'll go win that again.
Yeah, probably, exactly.
I think Gakpo and Savinho will be what we bring in the forward line. I don't think we're going to bring in anyone else. But what I think as well is that I think they've earmarked Krupi as the one that they want. And I think that they're going to try and go for Krupi with his release clause next summer. I know it's a dangerous game to play because there's going to be probably other teams that are going to go for him, but other teams going to go slap down 100 million for him. I think Spurs might next summer. And it will be out of Bournemouth's hands because he has that release clause. We've seen it before, haven't we, with clubs doing that, where if you can't get your number 1 target, you don't get anyone, and then you wait a year or whenever he's available, then you go get him. You've seen Liverpool do it with Virgil van Dijk. And I've got a feeling that's what Spurs might be doing with Krupi.
I think a lot of how I feel about the attack as well does depend on a lot of different things that we just don't know at the moment. For example, Maddison. How much of an effectiveness is he going to have next season? Decky, how much is effective he's going to have next season? Kudus, is he going to be hopefully fully fit for next season as well? If we're not going to sign a striker, depending on who we let go, could we, if Solanke is staying, or if it's Richarlison staying, or if they're both staying, could he get more? Could Solanke get 10 Premier League goals compared to last season where he was injured for a lot of it? Can he stay fit? All these kind of things. So that kind of we've had such a problem with injuries. I think we have so many players who are still massive question marks. If we can get something out of Maddison and Decky, all of a sudden our attack looks a lot better. And all of a sudden, even with just Savinho and Gakpo, if you have Maddison and Decky added into that, all of a sudden it's looking like we've got options and it's looking like we've got a lot of different avenues for goals. But if they're not going to be, people we can rely on next season, which you can't rule out, which is probably more likely than not, then all of a sudden it does look still looks a bit weak.
It does look weak, and the 10 position is concerning, particularly for the first half of the season, because you're looking at Maddison hasn't kicked the ball yet. He's got in these niggling injuries, whatever injury he's got, we don't even know what he's got. And then you're looking at right here, right now, Conor Gallagher, the only player that can play number 10. Maybe Luca Williams-Barnett, but can you really rely on him right now, a 17-year-old? Probably not. So the 10 position is very concerning with the start of the season. And the 9 position is very concerning as well, having to rely on both Solanke and Richarlison, and no one else that can play that. Can he go for Tell in the number 9? I don't know. So those 2 positions are what concerns me the most. I think on the wings, I think the plan is to bring in Savinho and Gakpo, so that will sort that out if we can get those deals done. But number 9 and number 10 is very concerning. I think I think we should be looking at those markets. I think we should be looking to get Bentancur out the door, to get Sarr out the door, and if Bergval's going to go, that does open the option to bring in one. And you've got Alex Scott and Morgan Gibbs-White. We need to be doing this business, because how can we go into the start of the season with the number 10 looking as it is?
Yeah, that's what worries me. That does worry me. Obviously, De Zerbi's the one who sees them, so if he thinks we can rely on them, then fine. But I think from a Spurs fan's point of view, we can only see what we're seeing. And right now, what we're seeing is a player in Decky who's coming up on 2 years. I mean, he's not far off 2 years at the moment not playing. So when is he going to be back? And when he does come back, what player is coming back? It's hard to say. And Maddison is off the back of an ACL. So how long before he's back to his best and back to his sharpest? We saw a few signs of him last season in the last 7 games, but all last 4 games of the season. But it was literally 5-minute cameos. Well, he looked okay, but it's still got a long way to go till he's at his very, very best. Until he's even able to play more than 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and then an hour, and then maybe start. Like, I don't know if he's ready to start even now. So I completely agree. It is that is very concerning. Obviously, Gallagher, I think, could do a serviceable job in that position. He's not my kind of number 10, but could he provide 5 goals from that position potentially, in the first half of the season or whatever, if he's playing in that position? Probably. Can he provide, chance creation for his pressing? I definitely think so. Could he improve on the ball a bit more than right now? Hopefully. But I still don't think he's going to be good enough in that position for us to be delighted with him playing there consistently, I would say. So we definitely need an upgrade.
It hampers our play, right? It's all great pressing and winning the ball high at the pitch and creating chances that way. What about when we're on the ball? We're going to have a lion's share of the possession next season in the majority of games. So when we've got that possession, who is creating from the middle areas of the pitch? I guess you're probably looking at Mateus Fernandez, but he's going to be playing
Tonali.
6 or the 8. Like, we need someone in the 10 that can create on the ball.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I think that position is concerning. The number 9 as well. Like, I'm not convinced about Solanke. I think Richarlison, I'm happy. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm happy with Richarlison, but I think he can and has proven consistently that he can chip in with goals. So I'd much prefer to keep Richarlison over a Solanke. But it's up to De Zerbi to get the best out of Solanke again, because nobody has been able to do it. Probably apart from like a short stint under Ange Postecoglou in the first season. But I don't trust Solanke, not at all.
Well, the thing is, he's just been injured a lot, hasn't he? I think when he's been fit, I'm not saying he's been a goal machine, but I think his goal record isn't horrendous when he's been on the pitch. He has gone kind of long stretches, I remember, at times where he's not scored. But I think last season when he came back, he scored a few goals. I think the season before, he got 9 in the Prem and 16 in all competitions, and he was out for 3 months. So he probably could have, if he stayed a bit fitter, he could have got more goals. Obviously, the fact that he hasn't been able to stay fit is a concern himself. I do think he's a better player than Richarlison, but I think there's just, I don't know, there seems to be a lack of fire with Solanke at the moment. There seems to be something missing from his game. When I think when you watch his performances when he first joined, and I'm not saying he was world class, but there seemed to be, he was getting in front of defenders, he was holding them off, he was using world class hold up play. He wasn't like a goal machine or anything, he wasn't like scoring loads of goals, but you could see how he was affecting our overall play. He was such a benefit to the team. And then there was periods where he was starting to score. I remember he got a brace against Villa, and he was going through a bit of a scoring spurt. I remember he got a brace in the Carabao Cup against United, and he looked like he was starting to fit in. And then obviously we got a bunch of injuries as a team, and then he got injured, and then he hasn't seemed to recover that kind of form. And last season he was completely decimated by injury. He was out for 6 months pretty much, returned in January, and then was kind of like in and out of the team. Got a season-ending injury in April as well when De Zerbi first came in. The thing is, we haven't really seen Solanke too much under De Zerbi. That's the truth. Like, he played 2 games, and that was it. And I thought one of them against Brighton, he actually looked quite good, in my opinion. And then he got injured against Wolves, and then we haven't seen him. So I think we judge Solanke based on a lot on his injuries, and also a lot of the time when he's come back from the injuries, he hasn't looked at 100% at his best, and we judge him on that. But I do like him as a player, and I still think he's got a lot to offer, and a lot more to offer than what we've seen, in my opinion. I think if we can keep him fit and we can, get the best out of him, I think there is still a striker much better than what a lot of Tottenham fans think up there. But right now, from what I'm seeing in pre-season, what I've seen from him at times last season, 100% De Zerbi needs to get that fire and passion back in him, because that is missing at the moment, 100%.
How much would it take for you to sell Solanke? How much of an offer would you take?
I mean, it's all well and good selling him, but who are we going to sign?
Let's say we can bring in another number 9, no matter who it is, like someone better than Solanke that you'd be happy with. Doesn't matter
sell him.
names.
Sell him for whatever, 30 million.
Yeah.
If we can get someone better than him, I don't really care. But I'm not convinced that. I'm not convinced if we sell both Rishi and Solanke, we can get 2 number 9s better than them.
Yeah.
Maybe 1. I don't know about 2. I think, as I've said, when it comes to who should we sell out of Rishi and Solanke, I think Solanke is the better player. But I do think Rishi, right now, brings just a bit more passion, a bit more effort, a bit more like just. I think he loves playing for Tottenham. I think he loves the club. He puts in his all. And he probably does it with less quality than Solanke, but I think he brings those intangibles. And obviously, I think he's obviously more of a goal poacher. He sniffs out those goals a bit more than Solanke does. Although I think Solanke's capable of it, he just hasn't done it as well as Rishi, I think, over the last few years. So I think those elements.
I think Richie's goal scoring record, games
is also good.
Goals
Yeah,
per 90, speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's good.
It speaks for itself. When I just look at Solanke and I just feel like something's off with him. I really do. Whenever you look at Richie, as much as you get frustrated with him, what you're talking about in terms of work rate, wanting it, positional sense, it's all there. But just the quality is a bit low at times, and you get very frustrated with
bounces off him like a trampoline.
Yeah, and he's however many minutes he spends on the floor in the game and stuff. Like, obviously, I want to upgrade on Richarlison, but I look at Solanke and I don't know, just something seems to be missing from him, and there's something seems to be really off with Solanke every time I've watched him play for a while now.
I agree. I don't disagree at all, but I also want to preface that by what I said. We haven't seen too much of him under De Zerbi. So I think maybe give him a chance and he can prove some people wrong, I would say. Because maybe, I don't think De Zerbi's going to start him if he feels like he's not trying. So if De Zerbi can get the best out of him, then I think all of a sudden, I think we do have a pretty decent striker there. But I agree with you. I think when you're judging him over what we've seen over the time of his Spurs career, and especially in the last year, there's definitely something missing from him, 100%. Yeah. And the whole injury thing was very strange. Like, we didn't really hear what it was. He was supposed to be fit for the new season, and it's just like week to week, we were like delay. And all of a sudden, we were 6 months, and we were like, where is he? What is he alive? What's going on? And we never really heard about what it was or anything, and it was really, really strange. So that obviously gives a lot of fans that uncertainty about him as well, with the fact that happened. So I get the reservations 100%, but I do think he's a better player than Rishi, and if I'm backing De Zerbi to get the best out of either of them, I think I'll probably just about side with Solanke to stay.
I'll side with Richarlison, because I think with Richarlison you know what you're going to get. You don't really know what you're going to get with Solanke. That's the thing. So I think in terms of Richarlison, I would much favour Richarlison over Solanke, because it's so. Look, obviously there could be an upside with Solanke, and obviously if Solanke and he gets knuckled down and he starts performing, yeah, fine. But I think I don't know how likely that is at this stage. I think with Richarlison, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get goals. You're going to get some shithousery. You're going to get some really frustrating moments. You're going to get him rolling on the floor for 10 minutes a game. But you're going to get goals. You know you're going to get goals. So to have him as the backup option, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. If you keep Solanke and it just carries on the way it's going, then you're going to rue that mistake of letting Richarlison go and keeping Solanke.
I think at the end of the day, probably hopefully in a year's time, they're both gone, but I just don't think they're going to both be gone this year.
I think they're both staying, to be honest. I've just got a feeling they're both staying. I don't know if we're going to.
And look, and if they do, as much as it's going to send the whole fan base into meltdown, I can already see the reactions, and maybe they're justified. But at the end of the day, do we have two strikers potentially who are both capable of scoring 10 Premier League goals? I think we do. So, and if they can both do that, I don't think it's like completely unreasonable to say both of them could get 10 Premier League goals. Then that could be enough if you add the quality of GAKPO and Savinho, you know, and hopefully they up the output from the wings and the chance creation from the wings as well. Maybe you could add 5 goals from Gallagher. You know, I'm not even mentioning Decky and Maddison. I'm going to leave them out. But you know, could you add, you know, maybe a few goals from midfield more than we scored than we have before with Fernandes and Tonali? You know, I think there should still be enough there. It doesn't make us favourites for the top 6 or anything, but I think there's enough just to put us in the conversation. Just about, I would say, even if we don't get us number 9.
I'm just not convinced that Solanke's going to do it. He's got it in him to do it. Don't get me wrong. And you're right. You know, both of them performing at a good level. They could get 10 goals each, but I've seen nothing from Solanke to suggest that he can get back to those levels. Richarlison is Richarlison. He proved it last season. You know, he can get those goals. Solanke knows. I mean, I would sell Solanke tomorrow and bring in a Watkins, bring in even an Ivan Toney. I'll bring in over Solanke. You know, I think there are plenty of strikers that you could bring in probably that's going to show you more fight than Solanke's showing right now.
If you're telling me, would I swap Watkins for Solanke tomorrow? 100%. I would.
It's a no-brainer.
So yeah, it's fine. But let's do it. I think we should do it. But I don't know if we will.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a swap deal.
We should. Yeah, exactly. Let's ship him off to Villa. So look, I think there's a lot of work still to do. We need those wingers in. We need a striker in. We need a 10 in. And then there's also the situations, what if Spence leaves? Do we need to bring in another fullback?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this month is going to be crazy busy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of business going ins and outs. It's going to be a mad month. Considering July, actually, when you think about it, was a relatively quiet month. We didn't sign a player, and I don't know who left, who was big, but
just like Lancashire, pretty
Lancashire,
much.
So there was a lot of rumours flying around, but nothing. There was actually a bit of a standstill in the actual stuff getting completed. So I think it's all going to ramp up again over this month.
Yeah. So how many do you want? How many do you think we're going to bring in?
I think I've got a feeling with the quotes about Rishi, I've got a feeling he's leaving. So I think we bring 3 in. I don't know who the striker is, but I think we bring 3 in.
I've got a feeling it's only 2. I've got a horrible feeling it's only 2. But I think we need 3 or 4, you know, to really cement ourselves in that conversation for the top. I think if we bring in those 4 players, we'll get Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to bring in those 4 players. If we only bring in those 2 players, I think we still can get Champions League. But I think Europa League is probably where we'll land up. So, look, let us know in the comment section below, how many do you think we'll bring in versus how many do we need to bring in from now till the end of the transfer window? Are you worried about the 10? Are you worried about the 9? Are you even worried about the winger situation? Do let us know in the comment section below. We've got some more super chats that have come in. So... next one was from Seba saying, what is Savio bringing to have this hype? He's bang average. It's a bit unfair to call him bang average.
Look, he's a winger who's extremely fast, very good at creating chances, can play on either wing. And I think, yes, he needs to. I would like him to improve his goal scoring and stuff like that. But he's a very, very talented winger who's shown in the Premier League, not maybe like every single week, but he's shown he's got an ability to play in this league. He's shown in La Liga what a talent he is as well, with lots of goals and assists in that division. So I think he would be a real asset to us. I really believe that. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to come in and be the next Mohamed Salah or something, but I think he comes in.
Just the next Sadio Mane.
Exactly. He comes in and can, and look, he's young, but I think can really improve, and he can really improve us.
Joey Boy, member for 7 months, says, go all out on Osimhen, sell the pigeon.
We should get Osimhen and Watkins, sell Rishi and
Exactly.
Solanke.
That's exactly what we should
If we did that,
That's exactly what we should do.
just spend 100, get Watkins for like 45, 450, get Osimhen for 70. Sounds good to me.
70 for Osimhen. I think they signed him for 75.
But people agree about because of his wages. Apparently, they wouldn't want a massive transfer fee. I don't know.
Is that what Ekram Konar said?
Yeah.
Tony Rodriguez says, pay 65 million for Osimhen, give him a 40 million signing on bonus, whack him on 300 grand a week, and give him a 1 million goal bonus. And then how long till we're broke?
What, after he bangs in 40 goals?
Yeah, exactly. How long till we're broke?
Yeah, not long probably. Look, I'm all for going all out for Osimhen, and he's everyone's dream signing. I can understand it. I think you just got to read into the situation. Look at why is he at Galatasaray, and he's been there for a couple of years. If the financials were anywhere near realistic, he would probably already be at a top club. Maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe there's just an opportunity that we can seize upon right now. But I think if you think about it logically, it's probably unrealistic that we get him. But yeah, I would love it. I would love it if we can.
If he had his head screwed on, it wouldn't be unrealistic.
But that's even more reason
in the Premier League, then it wouldn't be unrealistic.
That's even more something to be sceptical about.
Well, it wouldn't happen.
Yes, I'm saying. But
it wouldn't happen if he doesn't have his head screwed on. So if he does have his head screwed on, then it's realistic, and then it might happen.
Yeah, but he seems more interested in money than being at a top team.
Yeah. Nin Chow says we can bring Gakpo and Savinho for the wings and Kudus at the 10. Kulu and Kudus have similar attributes, but Kudus is more athletic. I mean, Kudus can definitely be an option in the 10, for sure. I wouldn't be against us seeing a free behind the striker with Kudus in the middle, Savinho on the right, and Gakpo on the left. I think that could work.
Yeah, I think Gakpo can also potentially play in the 10 at times as well. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of a Savinho on the right, Kudus in the middle, Gakpo on the left. I like that idea 100%. I think we could definitely play that in some certain games.
The thing is with Kudus as well, like, he's more creative than Gallagher, obviously, but he's also, probably not as good as a presser as Gallagher, but still a bloody good presser.
He's a hard worker.
It's a very hard worker. So I think you might get the best of both worlds.
The only problem for me with Kudus in the 10 is I think he's only really good in that position if he's got space to play in. Like, I don't see us playing against a low block and giving it to Kudus and him picking the lock. I don't see that happening. Obviously, he's really good at like dribbling past players and maybe turning on a player, and he can maybe do that on the edge of the box and maybe find a yard and get a shot off from 25 yards. But if you expect him to like put his foot on the ball and play a through ball through to a striker or whatever, I think that's not really his game.
Man, we need Javi back so badly, man.
And look, let's hope and pray, Matt. We can get Maddison on the pitch and to a good level, and that could solve a lot.
Well, I think he's not going to start the season.
We'll see. We'll see where if he plays against Getafe or if he plays against Hoffenheim. At the moment, it's not looking good.
Look like he's been in training.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Another super chat from Nin Chow saying Kudus is a better 10 than Gallagher. I mean, I don't disagree.
Yeah, it might well be.
Michael Hellman said, with the members chat, member for 46 months, Michael, come on.
Oof.
He said, I'd rather we wait until January to sign the right players instead of rushing for Band-Aid solutions in the near term. But with De Zerbi and newer squad members, we will see a meaningful improvement. Obviously, we need a new number 9. And that is something I agree with. It's better to wait until your number 1 target or someone that you're really convinced about than just to rush into a signing. 100%.
Yeah, but who was he referring to?
I don't know. The only one that comes to mind is Krupi.
No, I mean, like, who's you referring to us rushing in for?
Probably GAKPO, I guess.
From that point of view, I don't agree. I don't think it is rushing to get GAKPO, then waiting for the right player. I think he's a player that we know what we're going to get with him, and that's a certain level of output. He can be part of a good team. We've seen that. Like, there's no reason to wait into January not to get GAKPO in. I would still get him.
Yeah, but he might not even be referring to GAKPO. He could just be talking about it generally speaking.
No, I think in general, yeah, I agree.
Hormuz says, Oyarzabal should be looked at. Should we be looking at him? Like, he smashed out of the World Cup, didn't he? He is at Sociedad.
Yeah, he played false nine, did a really good job, and I know we know he scored the winner at the Euros 2024 as well, playing up front. I would be interested in that. I think De Zerbi maybe could use him. I don't know what his goal scoring record was like, but he wouldn't be. You won't sign Oyarzabal because you want him to score 20 goals. You know what I mean? You sign him because
he scored 15 last year in La Liga.
Yeah, well, but what's his overall record like?
9, 2 seasons.
That's my point. He's kind of like a Firmino. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
exactly. He would facilitate our other attackers. Obviously, he chips in with a fair amount. I'm not saying he just scores 0, but you don't sign him because he's like this killer in front of goal.
He's a very consistent goal scorer.
Yeah.
Since 17-18, apart from in one season where it looks like an outlier season, he's hit 9 or more.
Yeah.
In every season. 12, 13, 10, 11, 9, 4, 9, 9, 15.
Yeah. So, but he's not like... My point is he's not someone you bring in because you think he's going to score 20 goals. I'm not saying we need that. I'm just saying don't expect someone like a Oyarzabal and him to be like battling for the golden boot. But I think he would serve a role, and I think that could be something really clever actually.
He's 29 years of age, so it's not like the longest term signing.
Yeah, whatever.
But
he's not a player who relies on pace though, is he?
No, I think he'd be a much better player for us than a Solanke or Richarlison. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, he plays a different role, but if you play him in the false nine, yeah, he's one player. I haven't thought about him really. I think he could be a good signing.
Yeah. So those are the super chats. We're going to take a look back at the tour. Spurs obviously unbeaten, beat Auckland, drew with Sydney, winning on penalties, and then obviously got that last gasp winner against Chelsea in the last game. Spurs took home the Sydney Cup. Well, without the cup. So we won it, but there was no cup to hold up, unfortunately.
Couldn't even lift the trophy.
No, not like in other pre-seasons. De Zerbi said now we're not lifting any of these crappy tournament cup anymore. We're going for the big things next season. So we're going to have a look at who did well, who didn't do so well. But these are the minutes played by each and every member of the squad. We took a 35-man army out. And obviously, I think it was only 5 players that didn't see a minute. So Mickey van der Ven, Destiny Udogie, Dylan Thompson, James Maddison, and Damola Ajayi didn't play whatsoever.
Danso got a nice 3 minutes.
Yeah, Danso, Reece Russell, Denny got 3 minutes. But as you can see on the top of the chart, Archie Gray. Archie Gray was fantastic on the tour, to be honest. Captain, I think, on all 3 games. I think he was the captain. I think he was definitely one of the winners. Archie Gray, filling in at right back, looked good in the centre of mid when he played there as well. He looks to have bulked up a little bit as well, Archie Gray. So I think some big things expected. I think De Zerbi clearly rates him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the fact that he was captain against Chelsea when there was a lot of other experienced players on the pitch, I think just goes to show how much De Zerbi values him. I think he played well pretty much every game, whether it be midfield or right back. I thought he had some really strong showings. He seems to be using his game IQ even more as he progresses as a player, and obviously physically he seems to be coming into a new zone now as well. He's got good technical ability. So yeah, I think he had a really strong pre-season, really strong showing. Yeah, really happy with him.
Everyone on the left-hand side of the chart, I think, did well. To be honest, you look at Manuel Solomon, I thought did very well. Malachi Hardy was probably the surprise package, albeit we saw him against MK Dons and he played very well in the second half, but he backed it up on the tour.
I think if we're looking at real like top of the list winners, I think he might be number one because he's really come a name on everyone's lips, isn't he? And everyone is talking about Malachi Hardy at the moment because of how impressive he's been and the fact he's only 18. And you know, we've got a lot of talented centre backs and some we've even sold. We're now looking at him thinking there's a real future and a real talent there. And he played with such maturity. He seemed to be able to take on De Zerbi's instructions at such a young age to quite a decent level. You know, he was throwing his body on the line, but he was also showing composure on the ball. This guy is one that I think everyone got excited about during the tour the most. So I think he's maybe the biggest winner, I think, out of this tour.
Yeah, I do agree with that. He looks like he's got such a big future ahead of him. Such a big future. Yeah, I'm looking at the rumours of him going out on loan to Leicester, and I might be thinking like I thought it was a good move when I heard about it in the first instance, but I think maybe he can do a bit better than League One. I think he can go to the Championship. You know, he looks so good, man. Why not in the Championship?
You know, following Philip's footsteps. Yeah, I mean, obviously it would be his first loan move, so you've got to decide what kind of level. Obviously, Leicester are a big club, so although he's in League One, it's, you know, does have the more of a championship feel than being
it's true, but it's just the level of football you're going to be playing week in, week out.
Yeah, it's true, but then at the very least, he's playing in a dominant team in that league, so that'll be good. But yeah, I think I'd prefer him to be in the Championship. But if it is Leicester, I don't think that's a bad move.
I mean, Ty Hall and Rio Kairamatan both did very well as well for young players, but I don't think they reached the heights of what Malachi Hardy did. I mean, Rio, it's just a shame for him getting that hamstring injury towards the end of it. Hopefully he doesn't miss the start of the season. Like that run he did, bursting through the centre of the park and smashing it against the crossbar was fantastic. So I think they both are winners of the tour, but we're not talking about them as like, you know, big futures at the football club. They could do, but not on the same level as Malachi.
Unfortunately, the game Ty Hall did start, which was Auckland, or did he start too? I think the one when we started kids was at Auckland.
It was Auckland. Archie Gray started a right back. Then no, the next one didn't he?
I'm just trying to remember because I was ill for one. I didn't like really watch like the whole thing. So I don't know if he was. From what I saw from him in the other games, he was more of
off the screen, Sammy. By the way, it's been on for ages.
For me, like Ty Hall was more kind of like a steady Eddie kind of performer rather than like an outstanding one. I think Rio, to be fair to him, was a really strong performer. Like he was really helping out his winger. He was getting in forward positions. He seemed to have a bundle of energy. Like he was much more involved. He was much more noticeable, Rio, than Ty Hall. And so from that point of view, you've got to give him a lot of credit for making a bit of an impact.
No, he started both games. Yeah, you're right.
He did start.
He started against Sydney as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Rio made more of an impact than Ty Hall. I think Ty Hall was just like not looking out of place, whereas Rio was looking quite involved.
Yeah. I just think it's just the nature of the two players as well. Like Rio is just a very busy player. It seemed like really busy player. But look, both have got futures. We'll see where they are. But them two, I thought, did well. I mean, Ben Davis, I thought he was a very steady pair of legs throughout pre-season.
Good against Chelsea. Yeah, really good against Chelsea.
I thought he was brilliant every time he stepped foot on the pitch. There was one game, I don't know who it was against. Was it against Auckland or Sydney? He was just popping it around. The ball playing ability was fantastic. So Ben Davis maybe showing he still has some life in him just yet.
No life in the old dog just yet. Maybe. We'll see.
Matty's Tell, obviously.
Yeah.
Fantastic. In terms of the players that are already first team players, he's probably the biggest winner out of all of them, because there's a lot of question marks about Matty's Tell right now. Everyone's saying, you know, sell him, he's not good enough, he's not ready. You know, for me, like I've always said, like I think there is a good player there, but I just think he's too raw and he's not ready to be to where we want to be. But I think this pre-season, he's done a lot better than I expected. A lot better.
I think yeah, in terms of what you're saying, out of all the players who we expect to be first team, he was the one most playing like he had a point to prove. He wasn't just using it as fitness. Like, he was actually trying to put in good performances and trying to impress the manager. Obviously, he knows that we're trying to maybe sign some attackers, but he's trying to also send the message, look, I'm still here. You can rely on me as well. I can be a big part of the attack if you give me trust. And I thought in all the games he played, he was a threat. He was confident. He had actually a bit of quality at the end of it as well. He was getting shots off. He was creating chances. I thought he was hard to deal with all the fullbacks that he came up against. Scored a brilliant free kick. Had a really good assist for Richarlison. And a couple of times as well, he went on these mazy runs and nearly scored really impressive goals. If it wasn't for some good saves from the keeper, the one against Chelsea especially, that really stands out when he went on this Ricky Vieira's run. So I think for sure he was the one who most tried to impress and did impress probably as a first teamer. I think when you look at the other ones like Gallagher, Rishi, I don't think they showed anything like a new level to them. Like, they were okay, but they didn't they weren't overly impressive.
Richarlison was classic Richarlison.
Yeah, exactly.
Not impressing, getting 2 goals.
Yeah, basically.
That's what he did.
And Gallagher, again, showed what we know of him. Very, very good off the ball. Late runs in the box where he was a threat, but a lack of quality on the ball.
The thing is with Tell, and if you're comparing him to Manuel Solomon, I think Tell looked a lot better. He did look a lot better, but I just felt that Solomon looked more effective in the final third. I think that's how I'd compare the two.
I would say Manuel, I thought Tell looked more threatening, but then Manuel, when he did get into the positions to create the chance, he had that bit more composure, and he had that bit more just just care to make sure that his pass finds a teammate and it creates an opportunity. So yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, I agree with that. I think Manuel, we didn't obviously mention, but he had a really good pre-season. I thought in each game he acquitted himself
very well.
I can't complain about any of his performances really.
Yeah.
Tonali, I thought was pretty good overall. I think it seemed to be a thing. It took every time he gets on the pitch, it took him 5-10 minutes to kind of find his bearings, and once he did, he was started to control the game a bit, and that was really encouraging.
I was very impressed with Sandro Tonali, to be honest.
Yeah,
really impressed. Aggressive. He looked so good on the ball. I don't know if you saw against MK Dons. I know it's not on the tour, but he played this one ball, to Tell. It was just wow. I didn't even know you had that in your locker. Seriously, literally through the eye of a needle. Outside of the boot, I think, or might not have been, but it found its way through 3 men to Tell. It was just incredible. So if he can produce that in the Premier League, wow, we've got an even better midfielder. Who I thought, another big winner was obviously Luca Williams-Barnett. I think his best performance of pre-season is still probably the first game against MK Dons, but he still showed on the tour that there's a potential player that can see some minutes this season.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, he's still, got a lot of improving to do, but you can see the natural talent, and you can see physically he's not like the other youngsters. He seems to be a bit ahead of them, and obviously he played central mid against MK Dons, but that was on the tour, but he was really good. And then he played, what did he play against Auckland in the 10? Was it?
No, left wing, I think it was.
Against Auckland, because he played Sydney left wing.
Oh, so it was in the 10, yeah.
Was it the 10 against Auckland? And he showed little bits of nimble play, and then against Sydney he showed off his dribbling ability, able to take on his fullback and looking really confident, wasn't shy about taking responsibility himself, cutting inside and shooting and those kind of things. Obviously, I thought he was also linking up really well with his fullback, making clever decisions. I think when he cut inside and had multiple options to choose from, he kind of struggled a bit, and maybe he just needs refining in that moment. But I thought he just showed his natural talent, didn't he? And he showed why everyone's excited about him, I think. And for a kid of his age, on his first set of games against adult males essentially, and against proper players, he really showed that he can perform at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. I love his first touch. To die for. It looks like he's got already envisaged a picture of the game in his head, and he's able to put it on the pitch. The way he just glides through the pitch is just phenomenal. And for a player of that age to do it, on like you say in the men's game, I know it's only pre-season, so But look, the level of player against Auckland and Sydney ain't great, but physically he looked like he was able to compete, which is really impressive. Andy Robertson, though, up and down. I mean, the first game when he came on, he looked brilliant. He really did. And, he was bursting down that left-hand side. He was putting in crosses. And he looked good. Everyone was waxing lyrical about him after that 20, 30-minute cameo, linking up really well with Luca Williams-Barnett in that sense as well. But that game against Chelsea was pretty concerning, to be honest. I thought he was really bad.
Yeah, he was making some really uncharacteristic mistakes. Like, he was switching off a bit. He just seemed to be off the pace as well when the ball was played into him. He was kind of like taking poor touches and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't get to see him in the final third as much as we did in the other game. So he didn't get to show off his crossing ability that we know he has. So, yeah, definitely a bit mixed from Andy Robertson. Obviously, we've seen him be a fullback over, the last 10 years in the Premier League. So we know he's capable of much better performances. So I'll hopefully put it down to rustiness. But for sure, the game against Chelsea, he was off the pace, and he actually could have cost us a couple of goals if it wasn't for Kinski.
Yeah. And then you see the three goalkeepers playing 90 minutes each. Obviously, Anton Kinski was head and shoulders above everyone.
What a performance.
That performance against Chelsea is one for the pre-season ages, man.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, some of the that one save that he pulled off was one of the best saves I've ever seen. And, I mean, he pulled off... I mean, he was the sole reason, pretty much, we didn't lose that game.
Well, we won.
And we won, yeah. So, Kinski, unbelievable. Austin, I mean, was barely tested. Dubravka also.
Had a few good saves, didn't he, Dubravka?
Yeah, I mean, his goal wasn't tested that much, but he's already saved more penalties than Vicario ever has. So, Dubravka in the penalty shootout was decent.
True. Yeah, look, it's not an easy thing to make a pre-season fairly memorable as a goalkeeper, but Kinski definitely did that, and that's how good he was. And if anyone was having doubts about him going into this season, I think that performance would alleviate a lot of people's fears about him being our number one. In terms of someone like Jamie Dundee, he came into this tour with a lot of talk about him because people saying De Zerbi rates him, and actually, could he be part of the first team? So judging on that basis, how did you feel he did?
I think Donnelly did really well. I think he was really poor in the first game against MK Dons. Kept losing the ball in terrible situations. But I think in all the other games, I think he was really good. I think he used the ball really well. I think his passing ability was there on show to everyone to see. And he was a threat going forward as well. So I don't know. After what I've seen, it makes me convinced that he can be part of the first team and make a real impact and be the 10. But on pre-season, he looked good. That's all I'm going to say on it, because I think it's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, he showed quality, and obviously big moment for him. He came off the bench against Chelsea and basically assisted the winner with a nice effort. And I think he showed what a good left foot he can have at times. I think what was it against Sydney? He just started. He had a couple of long range efforts, which the keeper had to save, and he showed he's got quality. But did he show that he's now ready to be part of a Tottenham team that's looking to compete what we want to compete for next season? I don't. If De Zerbi was impressed with him before the tour, I don't know if he comes away from the tour convinced that this guy can be part of the first team just yet.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, because you never know what he's doing behind the closed doors in friendlies. To what made De Zerbi, impressed by him. So he could stay for this coming season, or at least until January, till Javi's back and Maddison's fully fit and everything like that, just to use an extra body. But Luca Williams-Barnett will be there, and if you ask me, from what I've seen, who I prefer in the 10, Luca Williams-Barnett or Jamie Donnelly, I'm picking Luca Williams-Barnett. So can they both stay and be part of the team next season? Because they're both going to be filling a pretty similar role in the squad. I don't know.
Him and Williams-Barnett? Yeah, I think Williams-Barnett looked like he's a bit more ready, amazingly, even though he's only 18. So,
but don't get me wrong, he still had a very good.
He impressed. But he is a bit older, isn't he? He's 21.
Yeah.
So he's not like he's a teenager coming into the team. He's played at championship level, so he's used to that, at least that level of kind of experience. I'm not saying that doesn't mean what he showed is just awful, but I'm just saying for me it wasn't as impressive as Williams-Barnett.
Mikey Moore, though, I don't think he had a great pre-season. I really don't. You know, I'm a massive fan of Mikey Moore, but I think he failed to make too much of an impact in any of the games. I think, obviously, he came on against Chelsea where we're down to 10 men. It was hard for him, hard for everyone, but didn't do too much. I mean, how many minutes did he get in the other games? So against Sydney, did he start?
He started one of
No,
them.
he started the first game against Auckland, and I think every time he got the ball, he had like 2 or 3 men on him, and it was just a really hard game for him. And I think he did okay, but nothing really to write home about. There were a few little moments in there. And against Sydney, he came on. When did he come on? He wasn't even in the squad against Sydney. So, yeah, it wasn't the greatest pre-season for Mikey Moore.
Yeah, especially after the Rangers loan. You're really hoping, especially as well, there was like clips of him with Lancashire doing that finishing, and then everyone was getting hyped and stuff. Yeah, you were hoping, could he really show in this pre-season that he's ready for that next step? But unfortunately, it just didn't quite happen this pre-season. So obviously, there's a lot of talks about him going on loan, and yeah, I think that's probably the best thing.
Like with Dane Scarlett and Yang Min Hyuk, obviously Scarlett scored in a game, but I don't think either of them had a particularly good pre-season. I mean,
yeah, Yang especially. Or...
Yeah, Yang was probably the worst player of pre-season.
How many sitters did he miss in this pre-season? Quite a few.
That sitter against MK Dons, that really is one for the ages, man. That is like.
But then as well,
the biggest sitters I've ever seen.
And then as well, I think Robbo laid one on a plate for him, and he fluffed it as well.
Yeah. So Yang, unfortunately, I don't know what to say on Yang. He was just really poor. Scarlett, I mean, he shows the work rate, effort, desire, always hassling and harrying, but just not that much quality on the ball with Dane Scarlett, albeit he did score a goal.
Yeah, he loves pre-season, doesn't he, Scarlett? He always seems to like come around and is like, okay, this kid, you know, can maybe score goals, but yeah, I think it's time for him to move on. I think he needs to just find his own path, and I think there's somewhere in there a decent player. I just think we've really bungled his development quite badly. I think it's a lot of on Tottenham, why he's the player he is at the moment, and I think if he can find a home somewhere, and play consistently, I think he can start to score goals regularly.
Yeah, I guess the only other 3 players to talk about is Solanke, Van Hecker and Mateus Fernandes. The other ones just got, a few minutes here, a few minutes there.
Yeah, Bergvall we didn't really touch on, but he had a decent tour, I thought.
Yeah, I thought Bergvall was a lot better in the first game than he was in the second game. I thought he was really, controlling things in the first one.
Against Chelsea, I thought it was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was all right, but he was much better in the other game. Much better. I love Lucas Bergvall. I want him to stay. I just don't think he will. I think we're going to end up selling him, and that'll be that, unfortunately. I think he wants to stay. I think De Zerbi wants to keep him, but I think the sticking point is always going to be the game time, and I think he's going to go and fulfil that at another club.
Yeah, I liked what I saw, as I usually do with Lucas, but the annoying thing is he seems to be refining some things which he was struggling with, like maybe taking a few less touches and showing a bit more composure and stuff like that, which last season he did struggle with quite a bit, but I really think De Zerbi can take him on another level, but unfortunately you might not see it.
Yeah, Mateus obviously didn't get too many minutes. He came on, I think, in the first game, and he looked good, was playing these constant through balls. But unfortunately, due to fatigue, he didn't play much more. And Solanke, he got 45 minutes this pre-season. I think he's had a really bad pre-season, to be honest.
He's had two 45-minute games, hasn't he? One against MK and one against Chelsea.
Started the Chelsea game, didn't he?
Yeah. I thought he was pretty anonymous, but then I also felt in the last 10 minutes that half, he was starting to get a bit more involved, and obviously the half ended and he got taken off. So it is what it is. But yeah, I agree. From what I've seen of him, he just seems to be like...
anonymous.
Yeah, but what's the word? He seems to be just letting things like drifting by, like passing by, like he doesn't, without really like looking to impress, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously, you got to remember he did have an injury at the back end of last season, but it's been a while now. He's been fit for a while, so he should be on. He should be a lot sharper.
Yeah, he should be. It was nice to see Mason Meslier get on the pitch for the 20-minute spell that he got. But apart from that, look. The winners.
Danso was a big loser.
Danso's the biggest loser of the whole pre-season. Completely botched that game.
God. That was
And
so bad.
luckily for him, we still won the game. But I guess it was probably a better fitness exercise after Danso went
Yeah,
off. So
true.
maybe he's done some of the players a bit of a service there. But
And Van Hecker obviously had quite a very good 45 minutes. I felt.
fantastic, yeah. Very good from Van Hecker. So I think Matty's Tell and Manuel Solomon can leave the tour with their heads held really high. Malachi Hardy as well. So that's the three. Who are the other two biggest winners of the tour, do you reckon? Maybe Archie Gray?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so Malachi, Tell. Yeah, Luca Williams Barnett. Yeah, Gray.
Solomon and Gray, yeah.
I guess Solomon. I'm trying. Maybe Rio.
I reckon Solomon was one of our standout performers of the tour.
Yeah, but if we're talking about. Yeah, he was. I guess maybe it bought him a move to West Ham. I'm just talking about winning in terms of like getting something out of it. You know what I mean? I don't know if Manuel's not going to have a future at Tottenham off the back of it. Is my point. But yeah, I guess maybe he's going to earn himself a move to West Ham.
Yeah, and obviously probably the five biggest losers of the tour. I would say Yang Min Hyuk,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Danso,
Yeah,
um,
Solanke maybe.
Solanke for sure.
Obviously,
Probably about it. I think those were just maybe Dane Scarlett.
Dane. And yeah,
Maybe Robertson.
maybe Maddison for not playing.
Yeah, well, you can say Madison, Van der Ven, you can say all the Destiny Doggy for not playing, but I think
Yeah, but Maddison needed the game time
He
probably
did.
more than those players.
yeah, but you can't do anything about an injury.
Yeah.
I would say probably Andy Robertson for that the game against Chelsea. It was awful. Expecting a lot better. So yeah, those are our takeaways from the tour. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. A lot of people saying Moore, one of the losers of the tour, and Kinski should have been in one of the winners as well.
Yeah, Kinski was one of the winners for sure.
But look, that is it from us today. We'll see what happens and how the transfer window progresses. Hopefully, we'll get some more news and more information. A big bomber tonight, hopefully. You
Let's
never
hope
know.
so.
But yeah, that's it. We'll
Usually it goes as soon as we leave the studio, there's a big bomber. So
yeah.
we'll leave soon.
We'll see you all soon, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.